we have our broken Inspire here, and we have our replacement arm prepped and ready to go. Let's do a repair on Inspire 1 coming up. Hey folks, this is an update on the video I posted previously about the Inspire assessment. We're ready to go forward with the repair now. This is our broken Inspire, and this is our replacement piece prepped and ready to go. So let's get right into it. Okay, now we need to begin by taking off the landing gear. We'll start with the broken side first. This one got really a pretty good hit here. The motor's still good. It appears to be anyway. There's no bending that I can see of the motor. And we'll see. To take the front of this landing gear off, the most difficult part of this is desoldering the light bridge antenna, or what they call paddles. I'll show you that in a bit. There's 4 Phillips head screws that hold the front cover on. This will come off like that. You can carefully pull this off. Set that aside. You can see there's a light bridge paddle or antenna. This has to be very carefully desoldered from here and here. You've got to be very careful not to put too much heat on that. Same as when you're soldering it on. You can see, I'll get you a close-up of that. You can see the 2 solder points. It's a coaxial cable. If you melt through the insulation on the outer portion of the, or inner portion of the cable, I should say, you'll short it out, and then the antenna will be useless. Hopefully you can see that okay. And we'll need to heat this up, the inner conductor, and then we're going to use a X-Acto knife here to just pull the wire, push the wire away from it. Like I said, this is the most difficult part of this. There we are. You can see that. How that wire's been pushed away from the center conductor, center contact, I should say. this outer portion here. Try to get it so that the camera can see it. Difficult to do. There we go. You see, that's the light bridge paddle. You can see the solder points. Hopefully you can. Right there. Now that we have that off, we can continue removing it. Once I get this apart, we'll see what it looks like. It looks like we're going to have to replace the motor on this. I know DJI would. There's a sticky covering right there. Try to retain it. This one's damaged, so we're not going to be able to retain it. If I can get the other side off here. See how this comes out here. Pull this cable out. We have a connector here into the ESC. If you can see that or not. And that will need to be disconnected. Get that off. You can pull some of the wiring out here. This portion here just has a sticky tape around it, like a foam tape. We'll peel that off. You can retain that. And reuse it if you want. Set that aside. And these two just become pulled apart. The red, pull that apart. And the black. And we just pull the motor off, and there you go. All right, let's take the ESC out. We just have 4 Phillips, I believe, in here. The other connector here, inside here, is for the LED on the front. We can remove that just to, actually we don't even need to. Yeah, we do. We'll take that, we'll remove it. Disconnect that, just like that. Take the 4 screws out that are in here. The whole ESC should come out. There it it is. See, that's our old landing gear. We're just going to toss that out. That aside for now. You can see here's the ESC along with the motor that I'm probably going to have to replace. After carefully looking at this motor, I've decided to go ahead and order a new one. It was kind of bent up on the bottom here where the attachment is, and it was a little stodgy in the way it feels. And I have to look at the other ESCs, but if you look here at that chip right there, it could be thermal damage here and here. So we're just going to play it safe and just replace this whole assembly here. They're available online for about $60, and I've already put an order in. This is the clockwise motor here. So I'm not surprised. This is where the damaged portion of the arm was. So I'm not surprised that that has to be replaced. I kind of almost expected it. So we'll set that aside for now. And we can continue on working here. We'll take the other one off. Set that aside. I do have replacement landing gear. That's going to be put on here, and have a one for the other side over here too. In the meantime, we can get this out of the way. The landing gear kits actually come, which is nice, comes with a new antenna. I'm going to go ahead and use the old one. If we do damage it though, at least we have a backup. And all four of these landing gears came with that. Comes with brand new screws for mounting the ESC board and mounting it on to the boom, complete with the DJI Loctite already installed. So we'll be good to go there. Now let's go ahead and remove the other one here. So I unplug my soldering iron and plug it back in. Wait for it to heat up. And start by taking this off here. Put these screws aside. The landing gear was around $15. I got it on eBay, and they were genuine DJI landing gear kits that I had to do all four. I've already replaced these two over here because they were damaged. It's nice though because it comes with all the needed screws and again this antenna, which in case you damage it, which is a very real possibility, you have multiple replacements, so there's no worries there. Okay, then we'll take this front off here. Okay, I'll reposition the camera here so you can hopefully see what I'm doing here. This is tricky. This is the hardest part of repairing these. I'm going to go ahead and melt the solder. See how that came off there? You can see that or not. You don't want to damage that coaxial cable. That's going to be hard to replace. Now we'll just pull this off. There we go. Got to be equally careful when soldering it on. Alright, we're back to our other view. Now we can start taking this off here. Just going to unplug the soldering iron here just in case. This Inspire is so big and bulky and my workbench is not very big, so I would accidentally bump that off the workbench. Hot soldering iron laying on the floor. Again, by taking those 4 screws on either side, and on this side here, and 2 screws back here on either side. So we'll begin by taking remove this, and this has a sticky sort of covering on it here, which we'll take off. I can hopefully reuse that. That's my intention. There you are. And see how that comes off there. Pull the motor off. Disconnect the ESC. And here's our motor leads here. We'll just pull this tape off. Try to reuse it if we can. Usually try to put a little bit of electrical tape on here too, because this does lose its stickiness. Just disconnect these motor leads, and there you go. Let's set this aside for the time being. Take out the ESC board. Let's disconnect the LED connector on the front. It's right there. Now we'll take out the ESC. There it is. The CSC looks the same, so maybe that's just the way they are. Hopefully it's not damaged. I don't remember if the other ones looked that way. This is a heatsink material here that's going to be present on the new landing gear, so we need to peel that off. Then we'll put the ESC into the new landing gear, just like that. You can see the thermal padding that comes with the landing gear, and there's actually a little bit of a heat sink here on the bottom. That's what this is right here. Those really are the MOSFET transistors there. So if anything would be cooked, it would be those. Yeah, they look fine. I'll just go ahead and use the old screws. Tighten those down. Try and hold it at an angle where you guys can see what I'm doing, but it's sometimes very difficult to do that. Okay, there's 4 screws in here. Try to tighten them down in a crisscross pattern if you can. Okay. hook up the LED. Plug that into the ESC board here. Screw this ESC down. There. Okay, that's connected in there. See, there's 8 screws here. Take those out. Now, before we go any further, I want to disconnect this arm here. The Allen wrench helps with that. You can see this type of screw, what it looks like. Set that aside. This arm is disconnected. It's like that. This leaves this free. And we can take the remaining screw out here. This will come off. It's like that. Just the rubber pieces that we have here. Just retain those. Retain those. Incidentally, DJI has made a design change on this. These rings are no longer used in the newer pieces. I did get a hold of an arm that does still have these rings, a new one, or a salvaged one, I should say. So we're going to go ahead and put it back the way it was. I'm going to remove the arm, so just carefully take it out. You can actually pull the wires through. Just make sure you keep track of which direction these wires. These go back here, and these go here. You don't want to mix these up. Just kind of carefully pull them out. That goes on that side. That goes that side. And there we are. The arm is out. Start feeding the wires through. And this one just takes a little bit of patience. This goes down. That's the ESC, so that comes out the bottom. Now these clamps, and this is where I've seen a lot of people kind of mess up a little bit here. These clamps actually have to be put in a certain way. There's a split right here, and when you put the piece on with the rubber little pad, it's meant to kind of compress these rings. So you don't want to put the split where it's like, for example, on the way on the inside or on the front. You're not going to compress the spring properly, possibly anyway. So I'm going to put the spring, the split just on the very top. This is where it was when it was disassembled, so that you will compress it when that rubber thing presses against it when you tighten down that outer piece. So it looks like about a good spot right there. So we will put the rubber pieces in here. Hopefully they'll stay put. Looks good. Now, before we attach this piece here, let's go ahead and put the landing gear on here on the front. I'll show you why we're going to do that first. Actually, we can go ahead. You can go ahead and attach it. But we're not going to tighten this piece down just yet. Get this lined up here. Put that in. Tighten it down. Okay. Just plug in the soldering iron at this time. Now, this is a little tricky getting this in here. We'll go ahead and connect the connectors here first. Rubber tape we had, here it is. Yeah, probably is not going to stick. So, I have a little bit of electrical tape here we could use. Go ahead and use that just to make sure it's going to stay on and insulated. can connect up the ESC. This is so big it's awkward. Okay, that's connected. Now we have to fish this coaxial cable down in there. This can be difficult. Like I said, this coaxial cable and these antennas are probably the most difficult part of this. Gotta feed this stuff back in and at the same time keeping the coaxial cable out. This has to be fished down in the front. Wires never seem to go back in as easily as they came out, but there we go. And we can use the new screws supplied by DJI. I'm going to go ahead and use my magnetized. It's this one here. Oops. Okay. Let's see what that looks like. You can see the coaxial cable sticking out. We're going to need to solder that light bridge, what they call paddle, back on there. All right, I've got one of my other tripods here. I've got this kind of situated up where it'll stay up so you can see what's going on as I attempt to solder this here. See if we can get this to stay in one place here. You can see how that's soldered right there. This piece will get soldered in right there in the center. There we go. I'll put a little bit more solder on that. I did remove some of that solder there. Again, we want to be careful with this. Not to careful not to overheat it. There we go. Take a look at that real quick. And that should do it. It's soldered. That's the trickiest part of this, folks. Go ahead and put the front on here. All right, we'll put these screws in the front cover, the new screws. And we'll put this little piece of tape back on there because we want everything to look neat. Fortunately, it's got some fuzz already on it. Get a screw out of here. I think you can remove the DJI tape here, the warranty tape, because I do believe that there is no warranty on this anymore. Just guessing. But there's a screw in here that I need. Oops, I'm going to lose it. And there's our old boom. Just toss that out. Now this screw is going to go in over here. Not going to tighten it down all the way just yet. Because we want to measure the angle here. I've heard DJI has some sort of a jig that they use to get the angle right, because these feet are actually on an angle right here. We want to get that same angle on the new piece that we just put on. So I'm surmising that the angle on this side of the boom on the right hand side is correct. Hopefully that wasn't moved. I don't think it's super critical if it was. If it flies sideways, then we know something's wrong. Okay, this is a camber gauge which is used in model racing. I bought it specifically for this purpose, to gauge the angle on this. I did see this online somewhere. So what we'll do is put this right up against here so we can get the angle. Okay. Well, there you are, folks. When I get the new motor and ESC in for this end here, I'll go ahead and put that on and show you the finished rebuild. But basically it's just a repeat of what we did right here on the front. So there's no need to even show that again. I wanted to say a quick word about these motors here. I did get the new motor in. This is it right here. Comes with a new ESC. There are two types of motors that they ended up using in these Inspire 1s. Because you had the Inspire 1 version 1 and version 2. This motor here, this is the old motor here. You can see it actually took a hit when it actually landed. But this was on the broken part of that boom, and when it landed and broke the boom, it actually bent up the motor mount, the motor mounts also. And the motor was a bit stodgy, so I decided it was best to replace it. I did do some research into these chips here, and the bubbling, looks like bubbling chips, that's actually perfectly normal from what I hear. These are the MOSFETs here, the transistors, and they're protected by that heat sink, so it's pretty hard to overheat these. So this is apparently a normal looking chip for these ESCs. The two different motors have slightly different model numbers. This original one, this is from my Inspire's version 1. This is model number 3510, and I think it has an output of 320 kilovolts, something to that range. The new one that is now used on the Inspire 1 version 2 and the Inspire 1 Pro has the number of 3510 or 3510H. So you would see that on here. It's written right on the motor, 3510, right in this part here. You would see 3510H if it were the newer motor. The motor was slightly more powerful. Of course, that comes with I guess a different ESC too. I'm not sure. I'm going to go ahead and put this in now, and then what we're going to also do is put the new prop holders on. It's the what you would now find on the Inspire 1 version 2, and certainly on the Inspire 1 Pro version. And I have the new props to go with them too. So once we have the motor on, we will then show you how to install the new prop clamps. I'm trying to find the word for it. Prop holders, prop clamps, prop mounting system. And, we'll show you how to put those on, and then after that it should be complete. When it comes to replacing these motors, you have to replace your original motor with an original version of the motor. So if you have the 3510 motors, you can't say, I'll just put a 3510H on here because of the different voltages. You can replace all 4 of your motors with the slightly higher output motors, and then it'll be fine. But you have to stick with the original motor. In other words, you can't stick a 3510H on your Inspire if the rest of the motors are 3510. You'll have problems. I don't know what problems you'll have, but I'm told you can't do that. And to me, it probably wouldn't be worth it to replace all 4 motors just to get a slightly higher output. The folks who end up putting a X5 camera, which is a bigger, heavier camera, on the Inspire one, feel that they do need to upgrade their motors. I don't know whether they really do or not, but that would be the only reason I would upgrade all 4 motors into the slightly higher output motors, is if you have the heavier X5 camera on. Some people say the Inspire does a little bit better with those slightly higher output motors. Other people say it makes no difference. So I'm not going to bother going through the expense of replacing all 4 motors just to get a slightly higher output, and having a difference probably be negligible. It's also important that you get the right motor. Of course, you have counterclockwise motors and clockwise motors. Just make sure you're replacing, if you have a clockwise motor, which in this case, this is what this one was here, replace it with a clockwise motor. If you replace it with a counterclockwise motor, who knows what's going to happen, but your quad's not going to fly. I also wanted to mention that I did get this new motor from a place called Rotor Logic, and they have an eBay presence. But you can actually also find them. They have a website, www.rotorlogic.com, and you can find the supplies there. The motor wasn't terribly expensive. I think it was $58 on eBay, which includes with free shipping. So you could say shipping was included, and it comes with the ESC and the motor attached. They tell me that this is a slightly newer version of the motor. It's got some Chinese writing on the top of it, when the old one did not. But they say it's the same motor, and it should work when we install it and fire it up. So we'll see. Let's put the new prop mounts on here. This is actually part number 70. I used to have, this looks like it's 1345T propeller installation kits. They used to call this 1345LS. It looks like they've had a redesign on this, but the way you're supposed to do this is you start with a spring first. As you might recall, in the previous assessment video, I did mention that one of these prop mounts was broken. You can see that one right there. This is the second style of prop mounts that DJI went with. What I did hear that these, since the tabs are not very substantial, they did have some failures on these. They would break off, and of course the spire will come right down like a brick. And it may be what caused the crash on this one. I have no way to know for certain. But I bought these new prop mounts here, and along with the associated props. We're going to go ahead and put these on now. You drop the spring on like that according to the directions, and you drop on. Of course, you have to make sure that you have the counterclockwise and clockwise ones. This one actually has CW written on it. You can see that, and it's got a reddish color, red dots on it. So we're going to go ahead and put this on here. Line it up with the holes. Try to get everything lined up here if I can. And we'll see how this works out. DJI does recommend that you put some Loctite on it, but I did notice that these screws already come with Loctite already on it, so I don't see the need to do that. We'll put this screw in here first. Tighten it down. Oh, I see how that's going to work. Okay. Actually, we don't want to loosen it slightly. So I'm going to put the second screw in. And we'll tighten that one down. And it just sort of clicks back and forth like that. Very nice. Let's try out one of the props here. I've got the new props. These are the 1345T props to go with the 1345T mounts. And these are giant. Everything's giant with these Inspires. Just remember, this is the motor I replaced. This was where the broken boom was, and this was a clockwise motor. The one up here in the front, you can see that on the camera. Counterclockwise, clockwise, then you have to go diagonally on the other side. This will be the clockwise here, diagonally of the other clockwise, which I am just working on now. Then the same is true with this one here, counterclockwise and counterclockwise up here. So you do have to get that correct when you're A, replacing the motors, and B, when you're putting the new prop mounts on. So now we have the props here. Let's see, it says white. And there's the red. You can see the red arrows to correspond with the red prop mounts. It looks like the way you do this is you can put the... Maybe I got that wrong. Let's try it that way. Ah, okay. You put the props on, then you just turn this, and it's locked. And you can see the arrows are lined up here. Just like that. And we'll go ahead and put the rest of these prop mounts on. Very nice. Alright folks, this concludes the rebuild video of our Inspire 1. All the props are on. I can't wait to fly it, but unfortunately I don't have a controller for it yet, and a battery, so got to save up the money to get the controller. I'm going to buy one used off of eBay most likely, and a battery off of eBay too to try to save a little money. And then we'll see if we can put this thing in the air. Of course I have to get a camera eventually too for it. Thanks a lot for tuning into my channel. And please follow me if you can. I do have other videos planned, whether it'll be rebuild of some type or maybe a place of interest. And I want to wish everybody happy flying and safe flying. Take care now.
Oh,